Good people of a great nation, welcome to the another discussion segment on development focus with Jide Ojo on ITV. This day, 8th of September 2021. We are now live. We decided to show you a repeat of our interaction last Wednesday because it's still a very germane issue that Nigerians needs to understand how to resolve our developmental challenges. And it is in that light that we have also, we are transiting to our live discussion here on Papehi. My guest is already seated, is so many things rolled into one, a man of many parts, and the latest doctor in town, just got his PhD. Congratulations, Tokwe. Tokwe Faswa is a doctor, is a lawyer, he's a doctor, he's an economist, he's a financial expert, he's a chartered accountant, he's what else? Okay, I will give you some time to tell Nigerians more about yourself. You have first-class brain. You graduated as the overall best student in your set. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you should have even gotten your PhD much earlier than now. Why did you delay that? Because people like you are always retained in the academia. I don't know why your school, why your mama did not retain you to say, look, we are giving you graduate assistant and then you start building future professors. Tell us a bit more about yourself before we launch into our discussion.
Thank you. Very interesting. I hardly talk about myself, but I think I was number one. I probably was too young to be taken seriously. I left university, I was just 19.
Wow! So, and a public university for that matter?
Yes, I'm a September kid, so
wow.
I was just 16 when I finished my
school
registration. So by August 1991, I was just 19.
Wow.
I was on to September, I became 20. I was already in Calabar serving by then.
Wow. Wow.
So, so I think that's why they didn't keep me. So I managed to escape. I escaped them. I still have a mind for academia. But of course, I had to go to Lagos to get a job in banking. Was there for about 13 years before I went.
I'm sure the banks will be struggling to have you, on their staff list because a first class.
Well, indeed, I was surprised that I got the job, but it's because I probably fit the profile of the kind of person they wanted then.
Okay.
In 1992, then I was there. I was in banking till about 2005. Before I went for my master's abroad, came back, started running my company, and. Here we are. I think I also wanted, I like to be versatile. So first degree economics. In 1993, I started doing my ICANN. By 96, I was done with my ICANN. Became a fellow in 2013 because I always delay the more formal aspects of things once I have the substance, And of course, I started this PhD in Walden 6 years ago, precisely August 2015. Though I took 1 year off around the time of politics, so I could concentrate on politics when I ran for president in 2019. And then I returned. I realized that, of course, doing a PhD is a test of perseverance. And I think I made a good choice. It wasn't easy. In Walden, being a lot online university, they started online about 52 years ago when people used to mock Walden for being an online university. But now you see that Harvard, Yale, everybody is online. For those who know how to get on MOOCs, what they call massive open online courses, EDX, Coursera, and all of that, you can get Harvard certification in some areas just online these days. I did one for 11 weeks which was run by the Harvard Center for International Development, for 11 weeks, and it was free. So Walden had been in that space. I was basically supervised, my dissertation was supervised by 4 PhDs, and they were rigorous. But anyway, I just make sure that I rounded it up in time. Yeah.
So as a whiskey. No. You are a whiskey. No. The whiskey. That one is. You got it from the dictionary. Whiskey has always been in the dictionary, but I see you as a whiskey. I followed you over years. You are a very restless spirit. You are somebody that's so versatile. You are a writer. You write columns. You are a banker. You are a forensic auditor. You are a chartered accountant. Yeah, kind of. I mean, how does your wife cope with you? because I think I need to ask that. Madam must be. You are just a handful.
She's just tolerating me thus far. So
and you are a very highly opinionated person.
She's the best person that can answer that question.
Oh, all right.
But for now, I'm still under her roof.
Under your roof.
Kicked out yet, But I think the whole thing is all about the quest for knowledge. And when Socrates was alive, and they said, look, Socrates is the most intelligent person in the world, and he said, no. He said, I know nothing. And therefore, he's always open to ideas. So someone who always has his ears to the ground. That's one of my motivations, to continue to learn. And, the other time I wrote an article, who is an economist. And in trying to find out who an economist was, it was difficult. I went online, searched a lot, and I was just coming up with, an economist is someone that has a master's in economics or a BSc economics, and they earn £50,000, $50,000 a year, all those kind of stuff. I said, no, this is not what I'm looking for. Until I ran into a definition of who is an economist by no less than Lord Maynard Keynes in 1924, when he wrote an eulogy for his boss, Alfred Marshall, had just died. If you remember your O-level economics, you know the definition of economics.
Yeah.
Marshall,
Sure.
And so on. And he said an economist is someone who understands that there's no area of life that is barred to his inquiry and his analysis. So in one breath, you're a historian. In another, you're a mathematician. You're a politician. But you're also a nerd sometimes, and insulated from the world in order to analyze very objectively and all of that. So I'm glad I studied economics. I see myself, even though it's my BSc, and my master's was in financial markets and derivatives, London Metropolitan University, 2005 and 2006. But I like that versatility. Now I decided to go to public administration. So my PhD is in public policy and administration, with a bias for policy analysis and leadership.
Very well prepared. Let's talk a bit before coming to NGDC Forensic Audit. You wanted to be president in 2019, and you decided to float your own political party. How was that experience for you?
Harrowing in part, exhilarating in another part. It was something that needed to be done. It was an experience that I needed, and those of us who came together to form the political party, we also needed it. Of course, what we do with that experience going forward is what matters. Of course, it was an expensive experiment on the part of those who contributed in terms of their time, their money, their resources, and all of that. We gave it a good shot. It's just unfortunate that we, of course, didn't expect that at the first go we'll start to win seats and all of that. But we were more interested from an impact point of view, and we had an ideology, which is basically a pragmatic ideology. I'm an economist. We had quite a few lawyers, a few economists with me and all of that. All of us were professionals working, at least the main guys, were people who had businesses or were working somewhere and could manage to get into politics in spite of that. Remember, I know that you interact with INEC a lot, that there's a lot of companies in Nigeria prohibit their staff from getting involved in politics. Okay, and which is supposed to, well, I don't know, of course, from the level of ethics and so on, but it's also a disadvantage for us as a country, because perhaps the smartest of us and the best of us cannot get involved in that political space. So that was difficult for us to achieve to get people, and of course even people who own businesses, young people, not so young, who own businesses who joined us. Some were afraid that the government would come after them. So you could say that it was a reckless experiment on the part of some of us who put ourselves in the forefront. I know, of course, I've lost a few things because of that. But I believe that it was a worthy sacrifice for Nigeria, you know, and it's something. If I could do again if I had the same opportunity. I'm not saying I'm still in politics. I'm not saying I'm running again. I'm not. But at that point in time, we needed, because one critical thing: Nigeria is vast. Okay. Now, if you don't know how vast Nigeria is, and you don't know the demographics of Nigeria and the challenges they face and the way they think. If you're sitting on social media, or you're sitting in Lagos, sitting in Abuja, or Port Harcourt, or the metropolitan cities, and postulating about what will happen in politics and how, you know, this and that and that and this, you are going to have a problem.
Doctor, we need to let's put a cap on that. This is not a campaign, and I know you are a narrator. You can talk. You are a man of many parts. I said that much earlier. I have a lot of respect for you, and I follow you like Twitter on social media. I brought you here to break down for us. We are looking at how do we halt the culture of waste in Nigeria. And as I was thinking of who to bring on the program, your name just dropped on my mind. I know you are a banker. I didn't even know you are a forensic accountant and all of that. But when I read through your resume, I said, oh, I got the best person. Because now, you have followed through NDDC. You are from one of the NDDC states anyway. Ondo State happens to be one of the 9 NDDC states. What do you make of that audit report? Tons and tons. When I saw the presentation, big sack, about 10 of them, you know, documents filled everywhere. But the summary of it, they said NDDC got 6 trillion in 19 years, because the audit was from 2001, 2000 to 2019. 6 trillion as 326 unreconciled accounts, bank accounts. You are a banker, and have 13,777 uncompleted abandoned projects. What's your make of that? Vis-a-vis the fact that it was an interventionist agency meant to develop your state, your region, the oil producing area of Nigeria. What's your make? What's your overall impression?
Nigerians like to complain about their leadership. Okay, a lot. I'm not in the ruling party. If the party I was affiliated with, or I am affiliated with, hadn't been dissolved, I'll be an opposition person right now. Nigerians love to complain about leadership a lot. Everybody wakes up and curses Buhari and this, but you can see that we are not doing a proper inquiry of who exactly are we. So you create this NDDC, and you say, oh, go and take care of your people, all right? And the people you have appointed there are majorly from that area, that zone or region that you're trying to take care of. And you can see what they've done. So I say to people, you know, if we say that Nigeria is a bad country and that Nigeria has been mismanaged by leaders consecutively since 1960, what we should be thinking about is that we are self-indicting ourselves. We ourselves are the problem. Nigerians are the problem with Nigeria. Ship Nigerians out of this space, bring in Germans or Chinese or Americans or Britons or whatever. And in 2 or 3 years, this place is paradise. Perfect weather, great resources, so much space for development and impact already. And that's why I'm not giving up on Nigeria. Hoping that one day, you know, we'll have a turnaround. Hopefully, someone who can anchor all of these things, even of course from the leadership perspective, but who can let the followers know that, look, at the end of the day, because in economics and statistics, all right, if you have a bag of balls and you dip your hand into the bag blindly, okay, let's say there are all sorts of colors in there, and you're bringing, you know, the red ball, number 1, the red ball, number 2, the red ball, And by the time you go maybe 10, 20 times, and it's all red balls, in statistics, they say you can conclude that that bag is full of red balls. If all the leaders that we have chosen or have been elected are this way, then we have a problem. So, for one, I felt, look, why have the Niger Deltans who run NDDC done that to themselves? And it's not just NDDC. Ompadek was equally mismanaged.
Exactly.
Okay?
Which preceded the NDDC.
Change of nomenclature, I think they changed them 2 or 3 times, same result. Same result. So I got to the point I started to question, not only because of this NDDC and of course 1 or 2 other things happening in the polity, I started to question what was wrong with the black man. And especially then I started to question what was wrong with West Africa, where Nigeria seems to be the major domo in West Africa, the leading light in West Africa. Forget that talk about giant of Africa. A few countries in Africa are a lot better than Nigeria. We may be more in terms of size. Go to North Africa, guys, they are integrating with Europe. Go to East Africa, Kenya isn't doing badly at all. Okay, and
even Rwanda.
Let's say Rwanda is a small country. Kenya is not that small. Go to South Africa, he as well has been in Europe. So what exactly is our problem? Is it that we cannot manage resource? Is it that when we see money, something trips off? Is it that this thing about acquisition? Because if you ask yourself, what did they do with 6 trillion? Okay, fine, of course, part of the money would have been, of course, because what they did was just to say, this is what you've got all through. Some of that, of course, went into project. Of course, let's even say half of it went into project. Let's even say 70% of it went. Of course, we don't get 70% value for money in Nigeria. But at least we're talking about 2, 3, 4 trillion having disappeared into the pockets of people. And where have they ended? A lot has ended abroad. Even some of the boys who agitated in that place, okay, before Yaradua came. When Yaradua settled them and gave amnesty and co, I saw interviews from some of them. They had bought houses in Rotterdam, okay, Amsterdam, in Holland, Rotterdam, living the good life. And I'm wondering, why have you bought a house in Rotterdam? Who's going to build the house in Okere Nkoko and Ogbia, local government? What have you done for your people? So on the basis of these people you have agitated, you have carried arms. Oh, our people, our area, they don't cheat us, so they carry our oil. At the end of the day, government says, okay, come, no problem, man. No, we're going to give you guys this. And then you take the money and run abroad. And of course, if everybody runs abroad, the politician runs abroad, the militants run abroad, everybody runs abroad. Or maybe the most sensible one will probably take the money and run to Lagos or Abuja and build a mansion. So what happens to that area? There's a lot of issues that come out of this report. Impunity. Impunity, exactly. The sheer impunity. You can't call it corruption. I saw that, part of what the forensic people said was, it was just a case of people dipping hands into the coffers and taking the money. Writing contract papers of contracts that don't exist, taking the money out. Paying people to do contracts and nothing gets done. They pay 90% of the money, not a digger is there. Okay,
and these people are walking the street.
And they're walking.
They're walking the street.
Jobo, who I think is still a director there.
No, they've sacked him. The court have sacked him with Pondy.
With Pondy. So Cairo Jobo was on TV saying that, look, NDDC is one place where when you get a contract, you are made for life. You get a contract of 700 million. If you spend 20 million, you finish the contract. And so they know that, okay, and I said it exactly the way he said it. So, okay, you get a contract of 700 million, you spend 20 million, contract is done. How much is there? 680 million. Share for the boys, take your own. Maybe your own may not be more than 50 million, but everybody gets settled down the line. So it's sheer impunity. 13,777 uncompleted projects. Substantially, the report says, substantially compromised.
Yes, substantial. Yes, that's right?
What. And 362, not 326, 362 accounts unreconciled. Not
what does that mean in banking balance?
That means that all the accounts are full of rubbish. People have been taking money there. Nobody knows who has taken what.
The signatories are even don't know.
There's no attempt to query any of those accounts. To say, oh, look, there's 50 million that was debited there. Who took it? It's unreconciled. Of course, it's going to be very difficult for you to reconcile 362 accounts. But of course, if you have accountant, you tell them to sit on it, take it batch by batch. You have to get a printout from the bank. and then get your own invoices and your papers and begin to tick off and say, okay, you said they should take 100 million, so who took it? Where is the paper to back it up? But then that paper, you have to ensure that it was duly signed, that the projects were executed. And however, let me quickly say it before I let you come in, sir. You can do a lot of reports and a lot of investigation. When you say you're conducting a forensic, audit or investigation, what you're saying in essence is that you're ready to take people to court. Because you were saying something earlier, and said, where are those people? They're walking the street. Forensic is about ability to stand before a law court and prove your case. All right? Using scientific methods. Okay? Scientific, you have to be, whatever claims you're making must be backed up.
It's factual.
So I'm hoping that the government is serious by saying that what they want to do now, what they've done, is a forensic. Because forensic audit is not one of those things you should sweep under the carpet and just pack it in a Ghana must go, some Ghana must go, keep it in one place, let it rust. You're saying that you have done an audit. Kabiru Ahmed, I think, is the leader. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, he was once president of ICANN. That you have done an audit that is bankable, that you should be able to go to court immediately and prosecute people. And we want to see that. And it's a great precedent. I've heard people say, why are they coming after Niger Delta? Why not the Northeast, whatever, which is equally corrupt, whatever. But look, we need this precedent. If this precedent is done, and I think people like you, who are very influential media people, should ensure you stay on the case, until the essence of forensic is performed, which is taking people to court and prosecuting properly, Yes, based on evidence that have been gathered now, in that 10 Ghana must go you mentioned, so that the next person can then come and go after Northeast or whatever.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I've done a number of stories on NDDC. I mean, today is the third one in recent past. And I went back in history. In 2015, the Auditor General of Nigeria said 183 billion could not be accounted for by NDDC. 183 billion. We are not talking of million. Billion could not be accounted for. Esima Ikere, I think former deputy governor in Akwa Ibom, was MD of NDDC at some point. When he was there, he cancelled 600 projects worth 200 billion. That the projects, people collected money, they didn't go to site, or there was wrong design or something. So 200 billion went down the drain. This culture of impunity, how do we put an end to it? Somebody said 183 billion could not be accounted for. Mute. Nobody had any whimper after that discovery, after that whistleblowing was done. Somebody came and said 600 projects worth 200 billion cancelled. Just cancelled, no recovery. And the shocking thing, Tope, after this issue of forensic or no forensic audit, during the COVID-19, in 5 months of last year, which was not period covered by the audit, in 5 months, January to May last year, NDDC supposedly spent 81.5 billion on things like COVID-19 palliatives, 3-point-something billion, Lassa fever, 1-point-something billion. I don't know what is it, a medical or pharmaceutical company that you are saying 3-point-something billion for COVID-19 palliatives. So in fact, if you see the breakdown, you will weep. In 5 months, this is not project. They didn't say this is for project. This is just administration. 81-point-something billion was spent and no whimper. How do we break this culture of impunity?
Well, the first thing is ensure you prosecute people and actually convict a couple of people. You see, they say Nigeria is difficult to govern, but I also tell people that Nigeria is, we Nigerians, we don't also like trouble. Nigerians are cowards. Deal with 5 people. How many people have Buhari jailed since he came? So the 2 governors that are in jail, Yame and Dariye, the cases went on for 11 years. and they probably found themselves on the wrong end of the divide. Maybe they're not cozy enough. We've heard it said several times by top members of APC, including Oshomole. Join us and your sins will be forgiven.
And that's you see so this campaign
exactly
to join the ruling party.
On this issue of NDDC, someone wrote and said that let's be sure that with this forensic, if government doesn't move on time, they may just create an incentive for all the people who could be invited to quickly move over to the APC.
Yeah, that's it.
Things are forgiven. So the first very critical thing is: look, is government serious, or is it going to be politics again? Is it going to be a case of some backslapping? Okay, deliver your constituency to us. Your sins are forgiven, and then that's the end. But we're waiting for the person that will actually be able to help us in this country. See, there's according to what Mahatma Gandhi used to say, there'll always be enough for our needs, but never enough for our greed.
Greed, yeah.
And it's a greed that has killed this country. Foolish greed. And we have seen so many examples. This is COVID season. People have died, and this COVID kind of targeted a lot of big men. A lot of our people who are poor in the market, they are surviving this. We've not had a major calamity in that area by God's grace.
But cholera is killing them.
Yes, exactly.
Cholera is killing the other people.
We've seen a lot of big men go down.
Yeah.
In this season, and people seem not to be learning. I wonder, is it that Nigerians cannot learn, especially those who find the quest for power, the quest for money, the quest for property, more. It's so foolish, all right, and that's what we've seen. So of course we need to put a few people in jail if they need to be in jail, if they cannot account for what they've done, all right. Then there are systems that need to be put in place. Technology will always help. I hear that even till tomorrow, a lot of the processes, if not everything, in NDDC, they're still manual. Carry file from there, carry file. Nobody is tracing anything. By now, they should be able to use geospatial technology to trace where the projects are and what's going on there on a per second basis. There's still enough money for people to be made. The guys who are working in NDDC are well paid. The directors are well paid. The contractors will still make their money, but please let our country develop. And now, let me even say this, okay? As much as it may sound a bit controversial. In thinking about, and my previous writings about resource management, and what exactly do you do to places like the Niger Delta? All right. If you look at the places where crude oil was first found in the U.S., in parts of Pennsylvania, in parts of Texas, all areas were evacuated, irrespective of it's my father's land, because the technology that was used in getting crude oil out of the ground a long while ago, even like as early 50s, 60s, 70s, was very crude and led to a lot of spillages and wastes and so on. So it wasn't a case of it's my father's land. They move all of you because it's not even habitable for human beings. Get out of there. Now, if they brought that kind of idea to Nigeria, Azerbaijan, Baku, parts of Baku, Azerbaijan, which was the biggest, that was the largest oil producing area as at 1900. The technology was so bad and so wasteful and so much pollution, they moved everybody out of there. But it comes to Nigeria, so you see people living in that penury, still living on steel houses, defecating in the water that they drink, till tomorrow in the Niger Delta. But it's our father's land. We are not going anywhere. And then they complain about government is not doing this, and government tries. We are seeing NDDC. IOCs intervene a lot also. The international oil companies intervene. Oil servicing companies. All sorts of initiatives. We are talking about NDDC, right? There's also 13% derivation. Ministry of Niger Delta. This one, that one.
Amnesty program. And even the presidential PIA.
In fact, part of what will happen, of course, this forensic audit has recommended a few things, saying that first of all, that the board membership should be part-time. The number of board members should be reduced, which, of course, some of the people who have spoken have gone against and come against and say, what are you talking about? Of course, before you can change any of those, you have to change the act. But I want to say that Bauchi State, they've discovered 1 billion barrels of crude oil. So we're not talking about Niger Delta Development Council. Perhaps the name needs to change to Oil Producing State Development Council.
Commission.
Or Commission. All right. So because by now, and I heard that the finding in Bauchi is real. They've deployed Bauchi.
The Dongola Basin, you mean?
Yes. They've deployed. Therefore, you need to add them to NDDC.
Yes,
that's no longer a Delta issue. It's an oil producing whatever issue, and of course, the issue then becomes.
And even Anambra, they've discovered oil in Anambra, part of Kogi.
I don't know. You know, Lagos, one of the 9 states.
No, Lagos is not Lagos even listed.
Has some oil as well. So, however, now, what that does is that remember that oil is also on its way out as a resource. Gas is even what we have in abundance more than oil. And there's a big struggle now. President Osinbajo wrote an article last week in Foreign Policy, I think it's Foreign Policy magazine, where he
Vice President Osinbajo or the President?
The Vice President.
Okay.
You know, they call it the divestment dilemma. Some people change it to divestment delusion. I don't think delusion is a good word to use. Divestment dilemma. Questioning the fact that the Western nations are moving to divest totally from crude oil and gas. And saying that, look, we are dragging us and pulling us along by force, by fire, when we in Africa have contributed very little to global warming, which is a position we should take. I very much align with that. Okay. Now, but the point is that if the Western world decide not to fund gas projects and oil projects, what can we do ourselves? If they decide not to buy crude oil, can we get our crude oil and use it to run our economy for a while before we go green? Because we can't leave those things in there. I was in Zambia in 2016, Lusaka, Zambia, for the African Development Bank meeting. Akinwumi Adesina was there, you know, and there was a very bitter argument he had with an American lady about the use of coal. The woman came and they were just the two of them on the podium. And, you know, the woman was talking about Africa should go green, forget all this dirty energy that you guys have, all this crude oil and all of that. And Adesina was of the opinion that, look, what are you talking about? United States is still using its coal. Perhaps not for concentrating on it, but if it's commercially viable, United States, China, most of Europe, they're still using their coal.
Even UK.
In Enugu, abandoned. Even the UK. So the position we should take it now is every source of energy we should still try and optimize and make them as clean as possible. But we need that development spurt. We need the development, you know, that shoot in development in order to try and catch up with the rest of the world. So crude oil is getting out of the market. Many of our states are discovering crude oil. Many African countries discovered crude oil in the last 10 years. It's becoming a moot point. There's all this thing about crude oil. Nobody should think, oh, we have the oil and we can do anything with it. We have all the time on our hands. Develop your region. Even if you go to Port Harcourt, I'm sorry, I'm not that impressed with Port Harcourt. I've not seen, they've tried. Wike does a lot of projects. They call him roadsman and all of that. Amechi wasn't too bad as well, I must admit, you know. But, you see, we're looking for a sea change. We're looking for a shock treatment. We're looking for, I mean,
a
wow factor. You know, in this country, the tallest building is still the NET building, completed in 1979. The NET building on Marina.
Yeah.
And so since 1979 to date, nobody has said, okay, let's do something wonderful in Nigeria.
Like Burj Khalifa
Burj Khalifa. I mean, forget it. Give us a quarter of that.
Or World Trade Center.
Nobody has done nothing. Nobody has moved the needle. Nobody has challenged the status quo. 1979 to date. Meaning the country is not growing. The Eco-Atlantic is there since 2003. Only 2 buildings are completed in the Eco-Atlantic.
Anyway, there's Greater Port Harcourt and all the other was coming. The issue, let's stay on the issue of NDDC audit. Recall last year, the probe panel set up by House of Reps and the governor, the Minister of Niger Delta, Goswe Akpabio, at that probe said, you are probing us. First, there was the Professor Ponde asked the chairman of the House Committee on NDDC to recuse himself because he's an interested party.
Exactly.
He did, and they appointed an interim chair for that purpose of probe. And then, I don't know, maybe you watched it, maybe you were out of town. It it was time for Gospel Akpabio to talk. And he said, hey man, you people seated there are the greatest beneficiary of contracts in NDDC. And I recall a honorable member from Rivers challenging that. And then the interim potent chairman said, off the mic, off the mic. If you recall that episode, it's still trendy. You can Google it, off the mic. What does that tell us? The people who are supposed to provide oversight on NDDC are themselves contractor in the same company. And is that not what they call conflict of interest? You are the doc here. Maybe you can enlighten me. Is that the way to go? Because you are a member of House of Reps, State House of Assembly, you go on oversight. The next thing is you are negotiating contract for yourself or your cronies or your funds. Because we need to unpack how we got to this sorry pass.
Yeah.
That over 20 years of NDDC has not impacted any of the Niger Delta states. How could you justify that kind of conflict of interest? You are oversighting an agency, that same agency, you are a contractor to it. How can you do an independent audit? How can people believe in you as people's representatives? So I don't know. I want you to weigh in on this, because we need to really understand how we got to this sorry pass. NDDC was established by Act of Parliament. One of the three key responsibilities of a parliament or a legislature is oversight. In fact, representation, oversight, and lawmaking. You can juggle which one is most important. Some will tell you it's representation. Some will tell you it's lawmaking. Some will say it's oversight. But whatever, these are the three key pillars when you get elected into the parliament. Now, you are supposed to go on oversight. But you are also a contractor in that same organization. How then can you do a perfect and unbiased work?
So it's two things. When we were in banking those days, there are instances when, if a banker gives out a loan to his customer and then goes behind and collects 30% of the loan or 20% for his own jollification, that loan is dead.
That's what they call the bad debt, isn't it?
That loan is dead. And some of the banks who had issues, or are having issues, that is their situation. Conflict of interest. There are no two ways of defining it. In this instance, if by the time you've already got the contract, because you have intimidated the executive, or you did not complain when they decided to use that to bribe you, the probe is dead.
That was the end of the probe, actually.
Exactly.
That was the end of the probe.
That's what I'm saying, that perhaps maybe forensics. They shouldn't use the name forensics anyhow. Well, my motivation to go and study forensics and get certified in forensics was because it's something I've been thinking about and reading since the days I used to read James Ali Chase. In James Ali Chase, there were a few of the books that were centered on forensics, insurance forensics and what have you. And we wondered what exactly was this forensics, But so they shouldn't use that in vain. This government should not drag down forensics. They should please give us that benefit of not dragging down the word forensics like every other thing they've done. Okay? But basically, to a large extent, if somebody who is a lawmaker has intimidated the process and got a contract, or collected the contract as a bribe, there's no way you can go back to these people. And we know exactly what happens too. See, so in the case of those who are running MDAs, and we're not talking of only NDDC, MDAs in general, they know that if they tell you how much intimidation they come under from the so-called committees who supervise them, maybe every December, maybe every Salah, maybe every whatever, they come hard on them. And they say, look, it's our constituency. There's a reason. When people ask me, why did I, Not, they say, oh, you should have just gone for House of Reps or gone for whatever. I say, look, that is not my vision. Because I would be there in those committees, moving around, collecting the money, and you will not be able to say anything again. Or
your voice will be drowned, even if you choose not to accept.
They say you cannot be eating and be talking at the same time.
It's bad etiquette.
It's bad etiquette.
Okay, let's even pause on that. Because time is also of essence. Look at it this way. 13,777 projects rather, uncompleted or heavily compromised. But somebody is signing on the certificates for payment of the tranches. I think the standard practice is you go supervise. There is a supervisor for project within the NDDC that should go visit that school that is under construction, that road that is under construction, that earth facility that is under, to know what level of job has been done, whether this person should get the next tranche. Because I know a bit of contracting that you don't get 100% upfront. You're supposed to get maybe 20% or 30% mobilization. When you have done work to that level, you get paid after somebody have certified. They give you certificate that you have done 35%, then they process another tranche of payment for you. But in NDDC, people are getting 90% mobilization and not a shovel of sand. It's on site. But somebody signed the certificate for the payment. Shouldn't those people also be behind bars?
No, you see, we are hoping that the forensic report will not get drowned in so much, lumbering of paper all over the place. From what you've described, how large the documentation is.
No, it was in sacks.
Each of those documentation would be why is that? It is that big. Is that they have made copies of a lot of contract papers, okay, and also observe the breaches thereof, even payment papers, okay. I read that, yes, just like you said, there were instances where 90% of payment was made on a particular contract or some contract, and nothing was done. So nobody waited for that ranch milestone thing to go on. Nobody was. So you see, well, impunity reigns in some places. And bad money attracts more bad money sometimes. And oftentimes it starts from leadership. If they know that our guy is stealing his own, Amateur will start stealing their own too. Everybody will start arranging. I don't come Lagos, come Blue Bridge. So the GMs will do their own GM. Before you know it, even the cleaners. There are institutions in this country where even cleaners gets involved in the action. I tell you, I kid you not. Cleaners get involved in the action.
No, let me even shock you.
Maybe you can be the ones that they will say, okay, you know what? You want this in see? You see that boy where they do? Go and meet him. I will tell you what. You see the cleaner building a big house in the village.
Yeah, sure. Toko, let me shock you on this. Joy Nune, the former acting managing director of NDDC, in a media conference, press conference she held, before she was pushed aside and they brought Professor Ponde in, allegedly accused the Minister of Niger Delta to say that she was instructed by the minister to award some of this contract. They were pre-awarded for even unregistered companies that have not even that don't have CAC registration. Will get contract. It's for the contract money and they give you go and register afterward. This woman came out. Of course, the Minister of Niger Delta heavily debunked it, vehemently debunked it. But should we have stopped at that? Shouldn't the minister and those claims by Joy Nune, Mrs. Joy Nune, have also been taken to say, is it true that the Minister of Niger Delta also influenced the award of contract to unregistered and unqualified companies?
Everything has happened in NDDC, okay? Just as it happens elsewhere. Even when we're talking about 13,777 abandoned projects, I remember that in the year 2013 or so, under Dr. Kojawela as the coordinating minister, that year she said, we are going to prioritize 10,000 abandoned projects this year. That's all we're going to face. Of course, the moment the budget was approved, everybody looked elsewhere, they forgot their promise. But she said that there were as many as 30,000 abandoned projects around the country. I started to imagine, how can a country have 30,000 abandoned projects? That means there's projects all over the place, left in different states of this.
This is not NDDC, this is Nigeria.
Now, if NDDC alone, I'm not even sure that included NDDC. NDDC is for NDDC.
Yes.
Nigeria is for Nigeria. There are dams, there are roads, there are bridges, there are all sorts of things left in different states of disrepair. And then we say that the country is not developed, So it's all back to us. So yes, I remember that time. I remember, and Akpabio deliberately did what he did, and it came out shocking to them because he was discussing to managers. They say, but I want them to pay this money. After all, who are the major beneficiaries? It's you people.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And they say, okay, off the mic.
Off the mic.
No, don't worry. No, enough, off the mic.
Yes.
And people, surprisingly, then a lot of Nigerians who are laymen, like me. We're actually criticizing Akpabio.
Are you a layman?
I said, of course, I'm not a layman. I said, look, we should commend that guy for what he did. Of course, we know that he's also one of them. But if they don't start to fight each other, how will we know the truth?
How will we know the truth? Okay, so
they said, no, she can't be. Of course, he brought out the name after some weeks.
Yes,
the names of the people. What has Aki said? What has happened? I said, that time, the probes have died.
Natural death.
Until now. But please, we need to stay on this issue. Because there's a lot of things coming out.
We let Nigerians weigh in on this. Nigerians, if you are watching us, you are interested in our discussion, Dr. Tope Fasua is here to answer your call. Please do call 0809-987-1989. 0809-987-1989. That's our studio line. Please, when you call, off your TV or move away from your TV so that there is no interference, and we'll be glad to have you join us. So the number to call is 0809-987-1989. We are discussing the NDDC probe report, NDDC forensic audit report. What do we make of it? How do we go forward? So as we go towards the closing of this discussion, the question is, how do we halt wastages in Nigeria beyond NDDC? NDDC, yes, we've done, the probe panel has done its work, forensic auditor has submitted their report, but it goes beyond NDDC. So, well, let me pick this call. Hello? Hello? Yes, your name and where you are calling from? Clement?
Clement Lafat.
Okay, Clement Alasa.
I want to ask the financial expert there. This issue of the NDDC now, that the minister is saying that they should go and adjust, they should go and the act of something that they should go and amend it. Is it right for it to be done like that now? Is it not right for the board to be put in place now? The question I was just throwing to him.
Is it right for the minister to say what?
The minister is saying now, he's suggesting from the audit that they should go and adjust the act. They should go and amend the act, whatever.
Amend the act of...
that will take another 6 months. Is it right for the minister to do that now?
Is it Minister of Attorney General and Minister of Justice that is asking for that, or the Minister of NDA? You said?
On the audit.
Okay. Now let me allow my guests. Did you understand the question? Okay. So thanks for calling.
The minister is different from the auditors. Okay. See, the auditors are meant to be professionals. They have done that based on their certificate of practice. Okay, and so the minister is not the one saying they should go and amend the
it's recommendation.
The audit is not even saying they should, So the audit is recommending a reduction in the number of board members, and that the board members should work part-time. I've seen an analysis that said that already the other board members are part-time, you know. However, people are also saying that in order for you to achieve that, you have to amend the act. The audit may recommend the amendment of the act. Whether the National Assembly takes it on to actually go ahead, and amending an act is a very onerous process, you know, is a different ball game. So, but look, if the that gentleman sounds like someone from the Niger Delta, anything that can be done to make the life of the smallest person in Niger Delta better is what we should support. Let's not say because it's our brothers that are running the place and all of that. I'm also technically in Niger Delta.
It's not technically.
You know, I'm from Niger Delta. Okay, fine. You know, so but that said, it's not a case of my brother is eating the money. Money that's supposed to be used for schools. Look, this country is at the epoch. We're waiting for a big leap. It's the big leap that we should be talking about in this country.
Okay, so let's hear another person. Hello. Oh, we lost that call.
You know, it's a do or die affair for us. It's either from here the country is emptied into the Atlantic Ocean, or we take a big leap and begin to benchmark some of the more progressive countries in the world. Enough of all of the things that we've been doing, you know, taking decisions based on ethnic and religious affiliation, you know, trying to farm out the blame to somebody else when we don't even look at our own selves. They said the best form of, you know, of humanity is to know how to criticize yourself.
Hello, let's take another call. Hello. Oh,
you know, you know how to
anyway, let's leave that comment. How do we halt this culture of waste?
Waste of what?
Waste of resources.
Waste of resources.
Waste of,
because the way I was going to approach that is to say we're talking about waste of money in NDD. There's also waste of natural resources. We're flaring gases and all of that. You know, go to Benue Plateau side, we don't know what the Chinese and the Indians are doing with a lot of things, that all of the resources that go on there. We're wasting, even in this country, we're wasting food. Go to Kogi, you know, in the cashew harvest season, and go to Niger in the time that citrus fruits come out, you see orange on the road.
Post-harvest losses.
Post-harvest losses. What about the human resources? Why are most of our doctors running abroad? Why are our youth all over the place? Who has anchored the passion of the... You look at the last Olympic we had, 55 people. Out of which almost 20 were disqualified because there was nobody cared about their standards and what they needed to do to test themselves. What have we not wasted in this country?
So how do we halt this culture of waste?
You see, I think the first thing is to continue to drum it. First of all, of course, it will help if we hold those who waste things accountable. Number two is, you know, the leaders must walk the talk. I was going to say earlier, when Buhari came in 2015, for the first 2 months, everybody sat up. The moment Buhari was announced as president, I remember going to the Federal Secretariat a couple of times. Even the turnstile started to work. The turnstile that you press, they identify you before you go in, started to work. Everybody sat up. I knew directors who I knew as friends, PAMSEC who I knew as friends. I said, oh boy, this man don't come. Hey, I want him to do this. I know that even if he starts, it will affect me. I'm telling you, one of them told me, I know that if he starts, it will affect me, but I want him to do the right thing. But in time, we found out that the man himself wasn't as what he said he was. I say it on TV. And I want him to, if he hears, and if his people hear, let them know they lost that. And they almost lost the country. For somebody who will come now to reverse some of these losses, it's going to be a very arduous task. Okay? So, leadership by example is very critical. To let them know that, look, this is how I want my thing. No wastage of anything. Because, you see, you cannot say you are looking for oil. And you are getting the oil, you are wasting all the resources, and even the thing you are supposed to do with the oil you are not doing. And then you now go abroad and you are borrowing. You can see it's double jeopardy. So then we are borrowing so much, more than we've ever borrowed. And the resources we have, we're not using properly. So it's the consciousness. In order to stop waste at any level, it's the consciousness. It's going to take a bit of time. But it's high time we started. The consciousness of understanding the impact of waste in our society. Not only money, but also all sorts of resources, including the most important resource, which is the human resource. 15 million children on the street is a waste of 2 lifetimes of a country. 15 million children on the street, no education. If they had only primary school education, this country will change forever, because their consciousness is elevated. their productivity is elevated, is enhanced.
So this over 30,000 uncompleted building projects, strong infrastructure. What do you think we should do? The 13,777 of NDDC, the bigger one. So as
well, look at all of those projects. You may not want to do all. Some of them are useless projects. In NDDC, a lot of those projects were non-projects at all. Just papers, the roads, I say, well, there's election coming. Let's give this guy 2 billion. You know, and all of that. You know, so but what we should do for those to identify the ones that make sense, the ones where there are places now where, you know, there should be roads, but there are craters. Okay, in the Niger Delta and elsewhere. So you prioritize it, because when you know that when those roads are done, they open up the economy of those places. The GDP grows. Okay,
that's true.
So first of all, is number one, let us recover our asset from whoever has stolen them to go and build himself mansion or whatever. Let's recover our money from their account. Let's prosecute this guy. Look, I don't care if 5,000 people are sent to jail who have stolen our money. Let them go. Okay. Then by the time you prioritize the project, then you know, because I've also written in the past that this country, people talk about the dichotomy between capital budget and recurrent budget. It's not every time you have to start a new project at the beginning of every year. Okay? We can run a maintenance budget in this country for the next 10 years to say all we want to do is maintain what we have built. What even goes into the capital budget? You buy a laptop, it goes into capital budget in Nigeria. But you repair a road, you patch a road, it goes into recurrent budget. And rather we are patching those roads constantly so that they don't generate into major projects. We have infrastructure in this country more than many countries have been to, even in Africa, even sometime beyond. Go to Eastern Europe. We have some, you know, things that we have abandoned. I was passing National Theatre the other day, massive structure abandoned. So many things abandoned. So many. Go to Lagos. You know, many of the buildings that the federal government evacuated to come to Abuja abandoned. In Abuja itself, a lot of abandonment. There's what is called debt capital. Okay. And this guy, Adunevin in PwC, has been writing a bit about that we have about 90 trillion naira of debt capital. And you find the debt capital in those abandoned buildings. When you build a house for so many millions of billions, they're supposed to serve economic purpose. Either you are earning rent on them, or they're housing some government enterprises or something or the other. When you abandon them, it's a waste. That's another waste we're talking. 90 trillion or more in this very country. So we can actually prioritize those abandoned projects like Konjo said she was going to do in 2013 and perhaps never did, 10,000 of them, you know, as at that time. We can do that, and we can maintain a maintenance budget for this country to say that, look, we want to build a maintenance consciousness. When you go to Japan, and they say that the school children in Japan, they clean their toilets themselves, they scrub the floor themselves, they build responsibility. When the Japanese come to the rest of the world, why would they not win all of us? But here we are, we like all this, oh, we have arrived, the Nigeria is the biggest, this thing is, everybody is doing big man over nothing. Okay. And that's what we are working today.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Dr. Topefa. So if I allow you another hour, we'll still be dissecting Nigerian economy, the culture of waste. Today we have tried to edit the NDTC forensic audit report. We do hope you enjoy what we have brought to your viewing pleasure. Thank you very much, Dr. Topefa. You've spoken very well, very, very much from the mind as a patriot that you are. Please, if you have enjoyed this edition, tune in next Wednesday when a fresh edition will be brought to your viewing pleasure. My name is Jide Ojo, and I say stay safe. COVID-19 is real.